Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Panorama webinar about building Panorama applications using Panorama Suite 2025 features. Panorama Suite 2025 is not just another version of Panorama Suite. It marks a turning point for Codra. Let me introduce myself. I'm Chris Cox. I'm the Technical and Business Development Manager in the international team at Codra. My responsibilities are to understand what are the requirements for customers and to match those requirements to the functions and features of Panorama and then help explain that back to the customers.
Good morning, I'm Nigel Cooper. I'm the Technical Support Manager, mainly looking after our English-speaking customers. And I look after support cases, training and consultancy, and I'll be driving today's demos and showing you hopefully the new features today.
Thanks, Nigel. And for those of you who are not familiar with Codra, I'm just going to start with a short introduction of Codra. So for those of you who are, then bear with us. It's always good to hear this again. Codra has 35 years experience of providing product-based solutions to the SCADA market. We have around 200 employees across our offices. We have 12 offices, quite a few in France, but the main ones for the international market are the UK and Ireland is based in Birmingham. In Belgium, we have our Benelux team and for the Benelux region. And in Johannesburg in South Africa, we have a team that look after the south of the Sahara. We work with over 300 systems integrators around the globe to deliver solutions locally to end users. We have, in 2024, we turned over about 28 million euros, and this grows steadily by about 15% a year, so it's a very manageable business for us. All our software development is done at our HQ in France, in a place called Massy, which is in the southwest suburbs of Paris. This is our central knowledge hub. Anything you want to know about Panorama, we can help you get it from there. Codra invests around 20% of its turnover each year in R&D, thus creating new features, introducing new technologies, and maintaining a high level of cybersecurity through our product design. So this is why we describe the product as cyber by design. We have delivered over 70,000 Panorama licenses worldwide, making Panorama Suite a well-established product. Panorama Suite 2025, as I mentioned before, is not just another version of Panorama Suite. It marks a turning point for Codra. Panorama Suite 2025 represents the culmination of a cycle that completes a development which began with Panorama Suite 2022, 2023, and then on to 2025 itself. 2025, its culmination of this cycle, is an LTSC version. So what do we mean by this? This is a long-term service channel. Basically, it means that the product maintenance lasts longer. So it normally between 5 and 8 years. And so it's much longer than other versions. An LTSC version is thus well suited to companies who are looking for a stable environment to control their costs, normally on critical national infrastructures. And this brings a lower total cost of ownership, lower maintenance costs, lower equipment life cycle, less training, less customization without the need to reevaluate the business applications frequently. It also brings a better return on investment. It saves IT time, increases productivity, reduces user support costs. There are two major developments within Panorama Suite 2025 that we want to discuss with you. Developments spanning several versions of a deployment, production, and display of the application. And we've also added some extra communication protocols along the way. So we're going to break down what we're going to show you today into two elements. So the first part is how you can build a Panorama application much more easily using the latest Panorama features. And the second part is how we can make this application much more user-friendly, again, using the latest features. We expect to take about sort of 40-45 minutes for the presentation, and then this will be followed by a 10-minute Q&A session. We'll alternate between slides and demonstrations, so I'm going to do some explanation with some slides, sorry about that, and then I'll hand over to the more interesting bit where Nigel will show you it really in action. We'd like to have a little bit of audience participation as well, so along the way we'll ask you some questions which will be displayed on the right of your screen. So don't be afraid to ask us any questions at all in the chat window during our presentations. So we'll answer them back down in the Q&A. So let's get underway with some of the subjects. So we're going to, this first section, we're going to discuss application development features, where we're going to talk about scripts, we're going to talk about component methods, and we are going to talk about how you can manage user rights. So we've tried to make Panorama Suite 2025 applications much more easier to develop than previously. We have looked at how people use scripts, and we believe that with 2025 features, there will be a less frequent use of scripts. In fact, a lot of applications can get rid of around about 2/3 of their scripts, and they can replace them with native features that are built into 2025. A few examples of this would be changing a main view or an embedded view, executing a list of commands, setting up simple GeoSCADA system, implementing a simple BIM, which I'll talk about later in the webinar as well. We've tried to also make scripts easier to write and easier to use. So we've introduced a new development language for Panorama. And we've introduced the notion of methods that have been integrated into components. The benefits of all of this is to reduce development time, make maintenance operations easier and less frequent. Okay, let's have a look at the three key features that we're going to show for part of the first demonstration. So we're going to introduce you to C# scripts. The reason for including these is these bring improved error control and script debugging. They bring the notion of strong type objects, which we'll explain in a moment. And it's a very similar language to what people have been using within the product, which is the VB script. Anybody who has some trouble in transitioning or wants to know the difference or have any help with transitioning, on the Codra portal, there's the Codra classroom. And there's a video available on there as part of the transition. So not right now, please, but at the end of the webinar, please feel free to go along there. Another subject we're going to introduce here is the component methods. So this is a native integration of script functions directly into components, which are handled as methods. And the other one we're going to introduce is the management of user rights, and develop the notion of areas and skills, which we introduced in Panorama Suite 2023, and show you how these can be used a little more extensively with the functions of Panorama Suite 2025. So let's have a look at what we're at the C#. Basically, over the years, the integration of the C# language into Panorama has become a matter of course. VB script language will soon be deprecated. The last real update for the VB script was in 2008. We know it's going to be withdrawn by Microsoft in some future version. We don't know which version, but we know it's coming. So we need to prepare. And we need to start moving our user base over to what Microsoft recommend, which is to use their C# integration. So C# is already used in Panorama, so it's not something that's brand new. It's used for user class for specific developments when you add your own functions and features to Panorama. A benefit of C# is that it's a compiled language, not an interpreted one. So compared to VBScript, we should have a better performance, and we would expect to have that. We introduced this notion of a strong typing. Now, the first thing that does for us is it will immediately pick up typographical errors. So where you've made a typing mistake, and if you have big fat fingers like I do on the keyboard, I do it all the while. So it's a real benefit for me. But they'll be shown to you immediately. This gives your code a lot more reliability. It also makes your code clearer and far more robust. But strong typing also brings another real benefit, and that's the possibility to not to have to manage type mismatch, because C# you can mix the types and it will sort it out for itself. So let's have a look at some of the concepts here. Basically, the methods have been added to component models. The method is basically a set of actions to be performed on a defined object. Methods can only be coded in C#, so please don't go away and try and code them in VBScript. They can only be done in C#. The aim of these is to have component methods to simplify the interaction with objects instead of directly accessing the properties of an object. So it simplifies from the point of calling the object. It makes the script here simpler to drive. So in more complex cases, it allows a single scripting at the point to be used rather than multiple scripting. There's less needs for user class, and the orchestration between scripts is simpler, saving time and performance. And of course, the real final benefit is that the code becomes, or the component becomes, far more reusable with its self-contained code. We have a look at the diagrams. The one on the left-hand side is how you would traditionally have piloted your component. So you see there are three things to do. So if we want to open the valve, we ask the component, are we able to? Can we? Is it possible right now? We have to wait for the answer back. And at the point of where we're making the call, we then say, okay, it's possible. I'd like you to open the valve. And then we have to get the feedback from it separately. And we have to manage that at the point in the HMI where we make the call. If you look on the right-hand side, you can see that with the component method, there is just a single point of interaction with the component. So from the point of call, you assemble the data you want, you pass it to the component. The component still does all the checking, but it does it for you. You don't have to do it from the point of calling. And that's the point. It makes the point of calling much more simple. So let's have a look at this in action. So Nigel's going to show you here, adding two component methods in C#, and then he's going to call the component methods and compare the scripting tools in C# and VBScript. So it's time for me to have a slurp of my water and pass the share over to you, Nigel.
Thank you, Chris. I'm just going to share my screen. In our application, you can see that we've got some valves instances here, and we've got a component valve here. And as you can see, we've got some properties. And typically, you would plumb these into your acquisition tags. So let's show you how to do a component method. To do this, you right-click on the valve, and you select component methods, and we've got nothing there. So we're going to define to ourselves. So to do that, you can go to the method tab, right-click, new method, and we're going to select opening. Because it's a method, and if you're familiar with the programming, it doesn't return a type, so you have to select the void. And now you can enter a comment. So we can put request to open valve. And we're going to copy that method and create a new one by pasting it. We're going to call this one closing. So we've defined our methods. Now we're going to add some code. And to do this, you right-click on the component and select component methods, and a code editor will appear. So you have tabs each for your methods. We're going to start with the opening method. So let's just put some applications, put some logic in. So I'm going to start with an if statement. So what you can do is you can make sure that you've got exclusive access to the object component by checking its lock status. So if it's not locked, it's not being used by anybody else, we can do something. So we're going to set the lock to true. As you can see, we've got IntelliSense. It's completing the code for me. We're going to open the valve by setting the property. There's a property called open. So we're going to say this dot open equals true. We're going to put a slight pause in just to make sure it does in fact close. So 2000 milliseconds, fifth of a second, and then we're going to unlock the resource by doing this dot lock equals false. And as you can see, it does the syntax checking. For you. So now I've got no errors. I can use the same code for the closing. So I'm just going to pick it up by copying it, paste it into closing, and setting the open to false. And of course, you can add more stuff like add to tracer, some code. So it's up to you what you want to do. Okay, so now we've defined our methods, opening and closing. We need to be able to call those. And we're going to go down into our main application. Let's go down into our main application, and we've got a script called scenario C. So it's very simple. We just need to define a variable. So let's just call this one valve1. And then we can do a right click, select an object or property, go and select first valve. We're going to make it an absolute address. So you should know, if you've used Panorama, absolute address begins with a /, not the dot notation similar to DOS. And we're going to click apply, and it puts in the object using this function, which is what is the best practice for 2025. It also returns a strong type of valves.valve, okay, which is your component here. So we're going to do the same for the two other valves. And we're going to rename the variables. So we're going to The path to the second one is under site 1, so that's going to be just site 1, valve 2. And let's change the valve third one to valve 3. As you can see, it thinks there's something wrong, and it is something wrong because valve 3 is actually in site 2. So there's a lot of checking in C# editor. I can now correct that. So we've got our objects. So now we can call the method. I can now say, well, in this particular scenario, I can say valve1 dot opening. It doesn't return anything because it's a method. You know, the return type was void. So I'm going to request the opening of valve 1. I'm going to do a slight, oh, sorry, syntax. And do a slight delay. Make sure the request has gone through. And then I want to check to see if it's actually open. So I can do if valve 1 open, one of the properties. So if that's true, I can then do some other business logic. So let's say we want to close valve 2. And I'm also going to write into the trace file, because I'm developing it, I'm going to write a note to say info valve 1 open, valve 2 closing. Hoping this should be all familiar to you. Again, it's telling me it's completing it for me. And it's syntax checking all the time. And hopefully you'll see we've got no issues. And that's how you'd call a method in your code. As you can see, it should make your application logic a bit more simpler and allows you to transpose keep your business logic with your valve. So let's have a look at what VB scripts, let's compare it with what VB script would do. So in a VB script, which is the old way of doing things, and as Chris mentioned, it's being deprecated by Microsoft. It won't check what object you've selected there, so that will at runtime that will fail. You cannot call methods from VB script, so that doesn't work. Although syntax-wise, it's okay. There's a typo here that doesn't pick it up either, and obviously, it's not that. You need to manage the memory a little bit by good practices setting your variables to nothing. So I hope you can see the component methods are a great way of encapsulating the functionality in your application and keeping it separate from your main application. And the recommendation is to move to C# to do all this in the application in our product. Thank you very much for now.
Thanks, Nige. Excellent demo. Brill. Okay. All right, let's have a look at the next step about managing users. Access rights in Panorama are traditionally managed by using an access control. So basically, just having a level on the HMI elements and giving the operators a range of HMI elements or HMI levels that they can access. That means that the application has to hold how a particular operator has to or is able to access the system. In 2023, we brought in the notion of access rights that can be managed in a different way. So based on the user's role, as opposed to based on something at the level of the HMI. So we have access rights now that can be managed according to graphical areas and to operators' skills. So this enables filtering at the HMI level on a desktop or a web view, and alarm filtering in the alarm windows. The user rights give precise access restrictions, so only selected users will have access to certain areas. Hence, we have an enhanced application security compared to just using the access levels. Panorama application configuration is much easier because the user matrix is easier to create and maintain and understand for everybody. So remember, access control in Panorama remains optional. We're not forcing every application to use access control. It's something that you choose in the application to use or not. And so you can still have unrestricted applications. You can still create applications and deploy and deliver them that people just walk up and they don't need to know the operator. They just want to operate the machine that's there. So we have a second demonstration. Short explanation there. Nigel's going to show you now the simplification of several aspects of an application on how to hide alarms and views and configuring areas and skills. So these are the things which are likely to be new to you. If you can take back control.
Thank you, Chris. Let's try and share my screen. Hopefully it'll be a bit easier this time. Right. Okay, so we're on to demo 2, and we're going to talk about users and access areas and skills. So effectively, if you've ever used Panorama before, you know where the users and profiles are. Got 3 users in this application in front of me, and we've got some profiles. And it used to be a case that you'd set your views or your controls on your screen with an arbitrary number to understand which has access, and you check what user would have access based on an arbitrary number, which was a lot of work for a little benefit. So we're going to look at the old way of doing things. So typically, you might do something like this. There's more than one way of doing this, but typically we're using some Boolean HMI data types here, and we're setting it up when the user logs on. Okay, this is the old way, really. A bit messy and error prone as well. So let's run the application and just show you it working. So I'm just going to save, click, modify. We also have a script to build the alarm window filter, which is again quite complicated. So we've got 3 users. So I'm just going to log on with one. I can see 2 valves. And as you can see here, it's quite small. We're building up a dynamic filter for the alarm window. So it's kind of complicated. Let's have a look at user 2 and then user admin. Okay. So that's the application running. The alarm window filter script is here. So as you can see, it's a little bit complicated and a lot of work for a little bit of benefit. So that's the old way. So we're going to delete the old way and we're going to try and use the new way. So let's have a look. So we're actually going to delete this script. So be brave doing this. On the main view, going to get rid of the filter window. Don't need that. And we're going to delete the code in our combo box for our user login. So our script that does the login, we're just going to delete the setting of the booleans. And in order to do the change, just have to, when we're doing the new way, you have to change the view. So we're going to just call PN change view. You can also use the change context if you're more familiar with that way, but either way will work. Okay, let's OK that. Now we're going to enable the new components. So I'm going to just deselect the old components and select the new components. Now we're going to add the user 1 to site 1 and user 2 to site 2. So site 1 will have site 1. Site 2 will be user site 2. We also need to delete the views from the main view because we're now using a different component. So let's go back to the main view, and we're going to drag view 1, valve 1, valve 2, and valve 3. Oops, hang on a second. Is that valve 1, valve 2, valve 3? Go. So again, what we need to do as well, we're going to add the areas and skills configuration in the profiles. So if we go to profiles, here we've got admin's got site 1, site 2, that was already there. So for the elec, we're going to select skills electric. So we're associating this skill with the profile. For hydro, we're going to select the skill hydro. Site 1, I'm going to select the area site 1. And for the site 2, we're going to select area site 2. So we defined what the application was before. Now we're just defining what the user profiles can look at. So here you can see site 1 and site 2 are using different units. So hopefully we can save, run the application. So if we log in with user 1, we see the 2 components, and we log in with user 2, we see only valve 3. I'm sure you're aware, you're probably asking me why I've got red X's on there. It's just because I've set the runtime behavior to be visible. So in a real world application, you'd set that as invisible. But for the demo, I just thought I'd show you that there's something's there, but it's not being viewed based on the user logon. Also, the alarms are filtered, so there's no need to do to create the filter text dynamically. So hopefully making it easier to have used and showing the pertinent alarms for each user. So hopefully this will make your life easier and make the configuration simpler for you. Thank you very much.
Okay, the second area that we're going to talk about is how to make more user-friendly applications. So this is an area that we describe as being application ergonomics. And here we're going to talk about system design, and then we're going to give some information about Web HMI, GeoSCADA, and BIM. So today, design is really essential in industrial IT applications. UI UX design should be being used, and probably you are using them. This is where UI means the user interface, so how the thing looks, what the colors mean, what the fonts are used. And UX is about the user experience. It's about how you move around the application, how many clicks to go to various points, where you find the click points, and how you do your navigation. To develop applications, to draw a simple parallel on those is to think about how you would use a smartphone. So industrial applications are going very, very much smartphone-like in their user interface. To develop applications that can be used by every team, so from the operators to the managers to the maintenance team to some visiting electricians, etc. You need to create applications that adapt to individual needs of these user groups, and to facilitate easier and faster user adoption and training. You'll be able to devise a more powerful application by using these techniques. You'll be able to enhance the SCADA's effectiveness, improve the team's responsiveness to field events, and ultimately to optimize the management of the facilities, which is quite often what a SCADA is there to do. Basically, the key features that we're going to discuss here, the first one is creating a panorama design system. A design system I'll explain in a moment. But again, like with everything else in Panorama now, we have the classroom, and there's the classroom video on how you can create a Panorama design system. So if you want to go and find out, of course, after the webinar, then please do. Those videos available on the customer portal. The second part that we're going to discuss here is the added new functionality to the Panorama HMI to bring it in line with the desktop HMI, so that we have when you create a view, you can use it 100%. Doesn't matter what the functionality is, you can use it both on the standard desktop views as well as the web views. So you don't have to create special web views unless you particularly need to for the application purpose. So graphic themes, basically, these allow you to bring together the combination of settings that you have, the things that you use commonly, like the colors you've used for background colors, the fill colors, the line colors, and so on, and the fonts. This allows you to harmonize various HMIs throughout a single application. It allows you to be able to select these and change these en masse as well. And it allows you in real time to do the same. So not just at construction time, you can use these groups, you can use them at a runtime as well. So the obvious one for everybody to understand at a runtime is that you want to select for a light and dark mode. You want a day and a night mode. So you select your groups of colors for your day mode, put them together, your groups of colors for your night mode, put them together, And at runtime, you give the operator a button to say night mode, day mode. And it's as simple as that. Likewise, with what Nigel just explained with the areas and skills, you can use the same idea of changing colors for people who require them for their job. So you can make it part of, for example, their skills, that they have, that they are colorblind. And so we can automatically apply the correct colorblind color settings when the user logs on. And keep that across the user's session. The real benefits of doing this are the economic gain. So you don't have to have lots and lots of different views to maintain. You maintain a view in how you drew it, and then you can change its colors, you can change its look and feel based on the system design. So the third demonstration from Nigel now is just going to give you a general description and then some practical aspects about how to use these.
So I'm just going to show you what it looks like in the real world. So let's just run this application. It's a similar one that you've seen before. So I'm just going to log in with the user. Okay, so we've got a little drop down on the top left that we've implemented, and now it's possible to change the theme based on my selection. So if there are a visibility is an issue, you can select a dark mode. And please notice that the components are changed, the controls are changed. So everything is under theme control. So let's have a look at another one. The nighttime, slightly different. And go back to the default. Okay, just to give you an example of some of the colors and the contrast you can do. There's an overview of some of the stuff there. These are all the colors defined in this application that you can assign to pretty much any control, any object. You can also have a look at the controls. So built-in controls with Panorama are also theme-based, hopefully making your life easier or the end customer's life easier. So imagine a scenario where you've got a SCADA and you're using our web HMI and it's a sunny day and you're walking out of your facility. It would be nice that you just can switch quickly to a high contrast theme, possibly, or just to allow you to view things in direct sunlight. So there's a lot of benefits for using these themes. So themes are, let me just go back to there. So themes are not just colors, they are fonts as well. So in your Panorama Studio, you'll see graphical theme, and underneath that, if I just select one of the themes, the default theme, you can not only add your own colors, so you can create your own. Add your own colors as you please, and you can also add your own fonts, whatever's installed on the machine. So whatever's installed, you can select. Obviously, it has to be present on the end customer's PC, but again, it's to do with colors and fonts. So it's pretty much a good way of standardizing on your application. So let's have a look at one of the valves quickly. So we can have a look at one of the properties, and you should see, where is it? can see that it's picking up this notation, picking up a theme color. So it allows you to define it in your application, and then that means that when you change the theme, every color changes on all components and all system controls. So I hope you consider this feature. I think it's a great way and an easy way to improve your usability heuristics, and indeed match all your end customer design style guide requirements. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's have a look at some of the things that we've done in Panorama Suite 2025, which brings all of what we've shown you together. Basically, around the HMI, sorry, the web HMI, we've added into the web HMI the ability for with Genetec VMS systems to embed the video stream into a web HMI. We've added the GeoSCADA functionality to the web HMI. We've added for Pano chart additional chart types. In fact, the vast majority of chart types, so there's only some of the real specialist ones that are not available. There is a list in the manual, and it's quite short these days. And we've brought the idea of graphic themes that Nigel just explained to you into the web HMI. So we have a lot of commonality between the desktop interface and the web interface from a technical perspective. We've also gone and had a look at how we can improve the performance of the web HMI. It's something when we release products, we always try and improve our performance. And between Panorama 2023 and Panorama 2025, we've improved the view performance from between 2 to 6 times faster, depends upon the things that you're using within the view it's itself, but quite a good change forwards there. Finally, I want to talk about BIM. BIM is building information modeling, and just before everybody shuts off and says, I don't use BIM. BIM modeling is finding its way from the building sector into many other different types of sectors. And so we've had requests, could somebody show an electrical switching yard because they've got a BIM model of it. And another request was a machine tool. They wanted to show the machine and being able to move it around in a 3D model. And could we overlay the data on it? And of course, for us, the answer is yes. So how do we do this? Basically, BIM models are created by a BIM management software. Normally, what was CAD software. And from those platforms, you can export information in a universal format. So it's IFC files that we use, and you can import whatever elements of your BIM model to an IFC file. The IFC file will contain the BIM model definition, so it's objects and it's a hierarchy, and also a 3D model. So we can bring those into Panorama. By the way, there's no need to export the entire BIM model unless that's what you want. You can export bit by bit or section by section. So for just going back to buildings, you could do a floor, or you could do a wing of a building or something like that. You don't have to do the entire building or the entire complex. So the same goes for any BIM information. And that's because at the Panorama level, we support the use of multiple IFC export files within one or multiple BIM displays, so BIM viewers. So the thing is, once you've got a BIM viewer, what can you do with the data? How can you show the data? Well, you can create things like to modify the transparency and the color. You can mask things that are going on in there. You can create styles that allow you to only filter out very, very quickly on zones or things like that. You can add text to objects, so you can show for a building the idea of putting a temperature in a room, or if you've got an electrical thyristor stack, you can pack your temperatures around it for the elements of the thyristor stack. If you've got a BIM model even of your thyristor stack. So we have groups of things that we can change, lists of objects, so that we can apply changes quickly to filter out what you want to see or what doesn't want to be seen by the operator. And of course, that's all on top of taking the BIM model, being able to spin it round, zoom in, dive to where you want. It's another way of showing data rather than just on straightforward flat screens, which is typical of operational technology systems. It allows you a different perspective on the data when you do this. It allows you to show where there are groups of faults, for example. So you can send somebody quite efficiently to an area where they know there's a number of faults, and you can see where those faults are just based on the BIM model of the factory floor, for example. So just to give you some ideas about BIM, to give you a brief introduction to BIM, then we see this, as I say, as another way of viewing data, and it's available in Panorama. Okay, let's wrap up. We've talked to you about managing behaviors within a system, making them generic within an application, about access to the data within the application, taking it from just a control at the HMI level into a control that's based on the user's role. We've introduced you to graphic themes, which have a number of uses, from dynamically changing color schemes across the entire application, to taking, for example, if you've developed some components for one customer and the entire color scheme needs to be different for another customer, you just need to go and change the graphic themes, and your job's done. And then we've just briefly introduced there the BIM model. So we hope you've enjoyed that information. We hope it's been useful to you. Please do go and look at the elements that we've got on our classroom, on our portal. There's a lot of very, very interesting information on there. And it's been a pleasure from our side. We'll see you again soon on the next webinar. Bye-bye.